these these people in charge of some of these systems and these testing programs with the military run on routines, and failure is not an option, if you know what I mean. They follow through regardless. And it says here that the fires were fueled by dry winds strengthened by Hurricane Dora, which passed to the south of the islands. National Weather Service officials had issued a red flag warning, meaning weather conditions were ripe for wildfire. And it says here, what is the current death toll in the Maui fires? They say the death toll was 115 people as of Wednesday evening. This is the highest number of fatalities recorded in U.S. wildfire in more than a century. This one here is, are people from outside of Hawaii buying the properties of Lahaina fire victims? Governor Josh Green is exploring a moratorium on Lahaina property sales amid local concern that out-of-state buyers will exploit the devastation to build hotels or other buildings. Moreover, he says, I would caution people that it's going to be a very long time before any growth or housing can be built. So you will be pretty poorly informed if you try to steal land from our people and then build here, he said at an August 14th press conference. Members of the public receiving unsolicited offers should report the name, place of business, telephone number, and address of any person to DCCA's Consumer Resource Center. Yeah, by all means, make sure that you let them know who wants to be buying property there for sure, right? Mm-hmm. Can firefighters use water from the ocean? Hawaii firefighters have used seawater to fight wildfires, but it's not really practical under most circumstances, said Jack Minason. I'm on the fence as far as raising funds and things for these people, because I just I don't I guarantee you that if you live in a neighborhood here in the US, you have neighbors that probably go to bed hungry. Neighbors that are in need. You should be helping the people immediately around you. And as far as Hawaii goes, they're going to recover. I'm pretty sure they're going to recover. The main thing though is that they're going to need their tourists. They're going to need people to come there and visit, because that's been the bulk of their economy, has been tourism. And that's really how Nevada is here too. Nevada's main income is tourism. They rely on tourism and people coming here from around the world. And I think it's kind of bothersome when we see reports and things like this here on the entire Lahaina aquifer sector area was designated as surface water and groundwater management area. So they pretty much took over their water, back in 6/15/22, back in June of 2022. And, when they start doing these kind of things like this, where they designate these lands as protected lands and offering federal protection for it, really all that does is it just prevents anyone from doing any kind of development on it whatsoever, and just allows them to hold on to that land until they have their own people in place and their own contractors and developers in place to develop it in the way that they see fit. And I think that's kind of what's going on here in Hawaii as well. And the fact that they talk about using the water from the ocean, it says local firefighters dropping buckets of water in wildfires has flown to the ocean to fill their buckets, he said. But generally speaking, even though we're surrounded by water, the ocean is not really accessible to fire equipment, Minasian said. There isn't really a way for engines to draft water out of the ocean, he said. Firefighters would have to contend with cliffs or lava rock to reach the ocean in the first place. Any equipment that comes into contact with salt water would have to be flushed out with fresh water. Well, I mean, and I'm still wondering why you couldn't have developed some kind of a system. You know, I'm just saying you would for mining the territory, right? I just Oh, it says, why did some houses survive the fires while nearby homes were destroyed? Homeowners looking to bolster homes against fire may consider the following. So in other words, it's the homeowner's fault. Clearing plants and brushes within the 5-foot perimeter of a home, fire-resistant roofs, such as asphalt shingles or steel roofs, clear roofs, gutters, and yard junk. Experts stress that it's incredibly important to keep the 5 feet directly surrounding a house free of combustible materials. What folks in the wildfire business call the zone zero, or the ember ignition zone, is kind of a key factor in whether homes do or do not burn down. Oh, you mean much like the federal lands, like out here in the West, like out in California and even here in Nevada, where you just let the dry brush just build up and you don't bother cleaning it all up. There's places all around us here where there is big empty vacant lots, where there is just nasty brush and dead shit all over the place and trash. So, if this is the type of conservation information that's being sent out to people here in charge of our fire and our, our wildfire management, they're not getting that memo that you got to keep it clear of all of this stuff because it's all around us here. It's not all that great. Even when you get further north, when you get out by the dump, within miles of the road that leads up and around the dump to the north, there's trash everywhere. It's gross and it smells nasty. That whole area around the dump to the north, within a 10-mile radius, smells like the dump. Anyway, where will fire cleanup debris end up? The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency will collect debris and ship it to landfills on the mainland as part of the first phase of Lahaina cleanup efforts for the first 8 to 12 weeks after the fire. Well, that's lovely. So you're just gonna bring your all your debris and all your crap from your fire there up over here into the mainland. But NASA can just dump rocket fuel and spent rocket boosters into the ocean. Why don't you just put your shit into the ocean? NASA does it. That includes hazardous household waste items such as batteries, partially intact asbestos, and propane tanks that pose an immediate threat to cleanup crews. So by all means, get that off of Hawaii and get it over here into the mainland, right? The Federal Emergency Management Agency will lead cleanup phase 2 to collect contaminated ash and soil, but it's unclear where that waste will end up. Gee, I wonder. And it says here, trying to find a missing person on Maui. Where do I start? The county has opened a family assistance center for people looking for loved ones who have not been accounted for. Visit the Hyatt Regency's Monarch Ballroom. Immediate family members of missing people are encouraged to visit the center to take a DNA test to assist in identification, the county said. Family members on a neighbor island may call the Federal Bureau of Investigation in Honolulu. Anyone searching for a missing loved one may also call the Red Cross, of course. For the Red Cross number, press 4. Be prepared to follow prompts for the Maui wildfires and be ready to leave contact information for someone to call you back. The FBI is also asking people to file a missing persons report. Interesting. That won't be abused in any way, especially if they're giving out funds and like money to family members, right? You might check the county's official list of people who remain unaccounted for or the Maui Fire's people locator list that's been making the rounds on social media. It contains the names of thousands who have been found and have yet to be located. Discussion about these grassroots efforts can be found on this Facebook page. Now, I have to question when they offer up links for these kind of things. This is the validated list of names of individuals who remain unaccounted for is below. And again, you're being given names of people. All right. And you have to question all of this information that's offered up. These are just names. I'm not seeing any profile information. I'm not seeing any detailed information. These are just names. But I'm willing to bet you there are a shit ton of GoFundMe's set up to raise money for these so-called missing persons right here on this validated list. Yeah, validated list of names of it. How is it validated? I'm just saying. If these names are all validated, right? It says the validated list of names, but if you recognize a name on the list and know the person to be safe, or if you have additional information about the person, please contact us. I'm sorry. This smells so it just smells really, really bad. Here's an interesting question. What sort of cash assistance can fire victims receive? There's no incentive there. Fire victims are eligible for assistance, including an immediate $700 per person cash payment from the FEMA. What a slap in the face. With all of the money that's been sent over to other countries and to fund other bullshit. And again, I have to question though, is this being abused? Another 1,000 is available through Maui United Way, because that's another trusted charitable organization, plus 1,200 monthly for all adults in the affected area through the People's Fund of Maui, launched by Oprah and Dwayne Johnson. Where can I go to find housing? The state is looking to connect more than 1,000 people and families who lost their homes in the Maui fires with people who have available housing units through its housing relief program. This is conflicting. I'm sorry. I'm just on the fence. I don't like anybody suffering for any reason. And I think that the whole thing that's going on there was something intentional. And that is so wrong on so many levels. But the way that they are exploiting it, though, it needs to be questioned. We really need to understand what their motives are for this kind of thing. And it seems to me like maybe it was something that has been in the works to redevelop it as one of those smart cities already. So this is all part of a bigger plan. And they're trying to get American taxpayers and the bleeding hearts of America and the world to build this thing when you've got people like Oprah and The Rock offering a 1,200 monthly. Go ahead, give it to them. I mean, but don't, you should not be getting taxpayer people living here in the United States and the mainland should not be paying for any of this as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion though, you know. And it says, does the state, oh wait, where was I at? Where can I go to find housing in the state? Oh, okay, did that. Does the state of Hawaii have the power to take my property? Yes. According to David Callies, UH Manoa Emeritus Law Professor and author of the book Regulating Paradise Land Use Controls in Hawaii. Under eminent domain in Hawaii, government can take property for virtually any reason it wants, and the private citizen has a right to compensation. The state and the county, and for that matter, the federal government have the power to exercise eminent domain, so long as there is some possible public purpose or public use stated by the government, he said. Interesting. My house in Lahaina and Kula was destroyed or damaged in the fires. Do I have to pay for hazardous waste removal and debris cleanup? No, this work is free to residents. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency will carry out the cleanup in 2 phases under a contract with FEMA. Yeah, to bring all that crap here to the mainland, right? The removal of household waste is phase 1. The removal of debris, phase 2. EPA teams will first survey your home and then visit your property and remove any hazardous waste. When will people with homes and businesses in the affected area be allowed to return? That depends on when the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency wraps up its work removing hazardous materials, said interim Maui Emergency Management Agency Administrator Daryl Oliveira during an August 29 news conference. Maui County officials really want to stress we want to get people back home, the businesses in place. Oliveira said, again, we're going to do that with safety always being paramount. Where can I donate money or supplies? Yeah, whatever. You can keep this. You're getting plenty of freaking help as far as I'm concerned. Talks about how you can volunteer. I have a spare unit. I'll put a link in the description for this little facts and things. I'm getting frustrated just reading through some of it because especially when they mentioned something about the eminent domain thing, and part of that with this whole water thing where they designated the entire Lahaina aquifer sector as surface water and groundwater management area, that was a land grab. That was a situation where they went in and they gained access to the land and they've had control of that water source. And what happened? They didn't use that water source to put out the fire there, from what I'm understanding, right? And it's just bothersome when they go through and do that. And you look at this other information. This was from June 12th of 2019, where you have the senators questioning, oh, the problem with Hawaiian homestead land, oh, much of it can't be developed. Well, according to the residents there, they don't want it to be all developed and commercialized. They don't want you to bring all of that there. There's just too many questions. And if you look at the history, the one of the Wohing Temple. I mean, this place was settled. This place was settled by people who were not from America and from the United States of America. So, in 1901, the Pioneer Hotel was built on the edge of Lahaina Harbor. The hotel served the plantation communities and occasionally hosted notable guests such as novelist Jack London and the founding father of the Republic of China, Sun Yat-sen. Today, the hotel is known as the Pioneer Inn and is one of the oldest operating hotels in Hawaii. And you have these temples and things, so you have this whole culture that's been created there. And I'm, I really feel bad for anybody that has suffered any kind of loss, whether it's a family member or whether it's physical property or anything. I feel really bad about anybody that has to suffer from stuff like that. But again, you really have to question if you're looking to offer money and you're contributing to this whole narrative of these things that in the information, you have to really question the sources. And the fact that they went in and they started noticed right away, immediately caught on. Hawaii State Rep slams developers for sweeping in like vultures to buy the land. I mean, there's so much that's going on though, folks. And I've got to wonder here about Nevada, because we have President Biden over here lifting up, at first he designates, President Biden designates Abikwame national monument. I mean, we're talking about a big span of land out here that includes like Spirit Mountain and all that stuff here in southern Nevada. And it's all land that is just completely uninhabited. It's all pretty much wasteland from mining operations, really, if you look at it, the bigger picture of it. And then they designated their mining operation, their wasteland that they created, as these wildlife national monuments and protected lands. And now they're actually lifting up these types of protections now out here. And there was this whole thing of protections established strong presidential conservation legacy, laying the groundwork for achieving a 30 by 30 goal. What is the 30 by 30 goal? It's to save nature. This is where their goal is to protect 30% of the land and water by 2030. In other words, you want to own 30% of it, and you want to designate it as um, protected land, federally protected land, because you don't want other people coming in and inhabiting it and people using it for the benefit of the people and of, and of the cities. You want to hold on to that land, you know. And this was just published up on August 29th, where the Biden administration on Tuesday lifted the protections from pollution for millions of acres of wetlands 3 months after the Supreme Court found that it lacked the authority to regulate them. So they're lifting the protections, which is going to allow developers to come in here, out here in Nevada, and most likely build up a whole bunch more of these solar power fields. We're going to end up having all these solar array fields all the way around us, and it's going to increase our frequency pollution. And I'll go into more of this information in another video. This is already long enough. I just wanted to share some more of this information concerning this fact sheet from the Honolulu Civil Beat, where they talk about the fire facts and interesting information. I'll put a link in the description for some of these other articles too, if anybody's interested, and I'll put it on my community page as well.